life you will live tomorrow is built by the choices you make today.
Forgetting the former things, looking straight ahead, holding on to hope, choosing life instead. The power that you hold is in what you believe, so believe for better things. You deserve to be free.
Welcome to Talk More Soon. I'm your host, Brianna Vernon, and today we're speaking about the importance of making the right choices every day of our lives, each step of the way. Before we get into it, let's take a sip of our morning tea. All right. So, how many of you know that the choices you make are incredibly important when it comes to living a life that is successful in the ways you want it to be, a life that is meaningful, a life that is purposeful? I like to use this phrase. It says, choose well, live well. And that means that our life is a direct reflection, many times, not all the time, of the choices that we make. Now, of course, we all have the cards that we are dealt in life, things that are out of our control. And so every situation is not for us to hold the blame, it's not our fault. But then again, there are many situations where we have the decision to make. And maybe you look back and you could say, oh, if I made a different decision then this wouldn't have been the case in my life right now. And there are so many people who I've heard say, oh, I have no regrets. And I just feel like that is just them being pretentious. Because if we are honest with ourselves, most of us have some form of regret in some way, shape, or form. Are you leading me to believe that every single decision you've made in your life, you are proud of it? You don't regret it? You don't regret the way you may have spoken to someone negatively? You don't regret a bad decision that you made that hurt someone else, that disrupted your life? Even though you can apologize, ask for forgiveness, and make steps now to rectify the situation, you're telling me that you didn't regret those things? It's perfectly normal to feel regret. But what I don't see enough of is people taking the initiative to make specific and well thought out decisions that will benefit their lives. Too many of us fly by the seat of our pants. Too many of us are winging life, despite what you may watch on TV or what you may have heard. And despite what the YOLO trend, you only live once, has taught many of us, it's not a good thing to wing life. You will be winging life and living carefree, and then you might just look back and not like the track record that you see following you. And you might look forward and realize you don't have much to look forward to because of some of the decisions that you've made in your life. No, the truth is you can regroup and come better, and your future can be better than your past, but it's up to you to make that decision. And so, first and foremost, I want to speak to the young people. I am considered in that group, but I even want to speak to those who are well younger than me, in high school and even younger. You see, young people are often told, you have your whole life ahead of you. You have your whole life to figure it out. Sure, your whole life is ahead of you, and you should always, at every stage of life, enjoy the present. But even when you are young and you are being frivolous and enjoying life, you still have to be mindful of the decisions you make. It doesn't matter how old you are. When it comes to, for us Jamaicans and persons in the Caribbean, passing your CSEC examinations, even when you're younger, passing your PEP. In my time, it was GSAT, and before it was Common Entrance. The decision to study and to do well in your exam so that you can pass for the school you want to go to is very important. How can not focusing on that decision really alter your life? Let's look at it because it might seem simple to you. Say, for instance, you didn't focus on your PEP examinations, and you may have passed for a school that is far away from where you live. But maybe if you had focused more on your lessons or studied a bit more, of course, this will be case by case. Say you weren't focused. Imagine if you were and you studied a bit more. Maybe you could have passed for your first choice. Now, let's say you didn't and you have passed for a school that is possibly almost an hour away. Here's how that lack of making a better decision may impact you and even your parents. You now may have to wake up earlier, take two taxis. Your parents may have to spend more money for transportation for you. Maybe the school fee is even higher, who knows? But it's these things that seem so simple, but they have repercussions, right? And it's not to say that just because you pass for a different school, that is any indication of your level of intelligence or whatsoever. The point I'm making is that the decisions we make or the decisions we don't make have consequences. Will be the same for if you are doing CSEC, say you completely did not focus in your classes and you left everything up to the last minute, and so your CSEC grades you didn't pass, especially the most important, for example, mathematics and English. And now you're in a situation where you're having to retake those subjects. And if you had focused more, probably you would have been able to have a much smoother transition into college. So the decisions we make, right? Let's now step out of high school. Let's go into the working world. Say you are on your job. You have gotten into an altercation with someone that you didn't need to get into an altercation with because you are hot-tempered. You have to make your voice heard, which is fine. I'm all for speaking up for yourself. I don't agree with letting anyone take step of you. But then a lot of us, we don't use wisdom and we are not, how is the saying? Wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. So in some situations, we act out of emotion and we end up losing our right in the situation because we didn't think and we weren't wise in how we went about dealing with the problem. And because of that, you may end up fighting this person, end up losing your job. That was what you needed to provide for your family. Maybe you have a young child. Maybe let's take a look at this different scenario. You have a friend who is always partying around a certain type of group of people who they're not your crowd. They're maybe into doing things that aren't in alignment with your morals, and you know this, but you still keep this friend around because you want them a friend from a long time. And they invite you to go to this party, and something in there said, don't go because it's not your crowd. And when you're hanging around with people who aren't your people, you never really know what can happen. Maybe you go, God forbid, something happens, whatever it may be. I don't want to speak negatively, so I'm not gonna think of any particular scenario, but something happens, with the car or whatever the case. And if you had made that decision to even cut off this person who is associating with negative influences, maybe you wouldn't have been in that situation. And so we can't just wing life. I am not perfect by any means, far from it. But I'll tell you this, one thing I try to practice in my life is boundaries. And I do not deal with the large friend circle. I do not want a large friend circle. I don't want everyone in my space because people can look good on the outside and be complete, just terror, bring terror to your life when you get to know them. So I'm very, 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 very picky about those who I align myself with. The truth is that most of the problems in this world are caused by human beings. And so if you check your life and it seems to be chaotic, the first thing I would recommend that you do is to check the people that are in it, their energies, their impacts, and their influence on you. Check your surroundings and where you are. You can have good people in your life who bring about good vibes and blessings and a safe environment, and then you can have the opposite. But it all boils down to the decisions you make in choosing the right people to associate with. And it's not only for people where we should choose well to live well, but opportunities. Not everything that glitters is gold. Um, Something might look good, might have a lot of money attached to it, but is it worth your peace? Is it worth what you'd have to sacrifice? Maybe not. Who you choose to lay with, have a child with. There's so many people who, yes, they love their child, but they are suffering because of the relationship they entered into. And they're suffering because they had a child with this person. This person is making their life hell. But if they had taken the signs for what they were, and sometimes I know we might not see certain signs or we might not take them for what they are. But let's say you saw those signs and you have gotten that person out of your life, but they're trying to use mental tactics and gaslighting to get back in, and you succumb to it. You had that decision once again to block them out and not let them re enter, but you let them come back in to only do the same thing, mess up your life all over again. The decisions we make. If we want to live well, we have to choose well. It goes for the youngster going to school, to the college student, to those of us working a 9 to 5, to those of us who operate a business, well into including those of us in our 50s, 60s. Choose well, live well. Think before you speak. Our words, when we say them, we can't take them back. There are things you and I have said to people where when the words come out of our mouths, we're like, ugh, did I just say that? But then the good thing is that while we're not perfect, we can showcase remorse and we can showcase a desire to be better people. So even if you slipped up, you said something to someone that was so mean and wrong, you made a bad decision, but then you still have another decision now to apologize. It's up to them to forgive you, but you still have that, you still owe them that apology. That's another decision. So deciding now not to apologize is you making two bad decisions. Maybe if you apologize, the situation can be fixed. And if you don't, you would never know. Choose well, live well. Choosing well can make the difference between you having a good relationship with your parents, with your relatives, as opposed to you having no relationship with them at all. Choosing well can be the difference between you being successful in the workplace, having a healed family life, being a good parent. It can be the difference between that and you living a subpar life because of pride or ignorance. So I would recommend you take that phrase seriously. Choose well, live well. It's not choose perfectly, live perfectly. There's no perfection that humans can bring, but we can do our best. And when we do our best wholeheartedly, it is truly good enough. It's all we have. All right. So that's it. That's all I have for you for this episode. Thank you so much for listening and for watching, and we will talk more soon.